In today's video we will discuss the top 10 movies that have very little to do with the book they're based on. Please make sure you subscribe to the Top 10 Jaw-Dropping Facts channel. If you enjoy books to movies, we have compiled a list of 10 movies that have nothing to do with the books. Number 10. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. While many people loved the 1971 version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder, the author hated the changes with a passion. In fact, he hated it so much that he refused to let any of his other books be made into a film again. Though many people still enjoyed the movie, it makes sense why the author was mad. The book was meant to be a dark tale that warned naughty children of the horrible things that could happen to them. Willy Wonka wasn't a nice, slightly eccentric man, but completely demented, and Oompa Loompa were slaves. But the movie was made to be a little more lighthearted and musical, getting rid of some of the darker aspects. Number 9. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Called Who Censored Roger Rabbit in book form, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is an interesting movie that talks about the world if cartoons and real life combined. Though it has cartoon characters, it is a very adult-oriented movie focused on sharp and often harsh realities. While it has a mix of sexy characters and harsh realities, it doesn't really match the book. This isn't entirely the director's fault. The book is weird. It doesn't quite live up to what the author was trying to do, creating a balance between science fiction and real life. He also tried to add a little mystery and several threads and subplots going on all at once. The plot gets convoluted and often misses the mark. While the director liked the idea of pushing the boundaries between animation and real life, the plot wasn't super useful or movie adaptable. So the director threw it out and went with his own stories. Number 8. World War Z. World War Z was a unique movie with a fun take on zombies many hadn't seen before. They were based on zombie ants, and were overall a lot more terrifying than the zombies we usually see on film creeping around at a slow speed. It is a movie full of action, drama, and threats at every turn. However, the book isn't like this. While it is still about a zombie apocalypse, the book focuses a lot more on the psychological and bureaucratic aspects of a zombie outbreak. It was meant to criticize the way governments work and all the red tape, such as focusing on costs, but we don't see much of that in the movie at all. Most people agree that the only thing the movie and the book have in common is the title. Number 7. War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds was originally a book written in 1898 by H.G. Wells. Later, it was adapted into a film by Steven Spielberg. While the movie isn't completely different from the book, it does take some pretty big liberties with the plot. Two of the most noticeable changes are the time period and the purpose for the main character to continue doing what he did. While the book had the story set in the 19th century, the movie was changed to fit in more of the 2000s time period. Our main character also changes from someone that wants nothing more than to go home and see his wife again to a single, divorced dad trying to save his kids. But, hey, at least they got the aliens down somewhat accurately. But trust us, if you struggle with classics, War of the Worlds isn't for you. It's much harder to read than most classics thanks to H.G. Wells' verbose, detailed writing style. Number 6. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Breakfast at Tiffany's book was made to be a bit darker than the light romance that we see in the movie. This leads to a couple of different changes in the movie, especially the ending. The ending of the movie is a lot more upbeat and happy, with the writer and Holly getting together at the end. However, in the book, Holly disappears never to be seen again by the writer. Throughout the movie, there is also less openness about what exactly Holly's profession is, while in the book, it's a lot more direct. The time period is also slightly different, with the book being set in the 40s and surrounded by the war, while the movie is in the 60s. Number 5. I, Robot. Robot is based on a book from the 1950s under the same title by Isaac Asimov. The book is a series of short stories about different, but all interesting, robots. Their stories came together to provide a history of how robots came to be. In comparison, the movie is a thriller filled with evil robots and lots of hate for the AIs. The movie was originally going to be even more different, but Fox Home Entertainment told the director and screenwriter that some of the book's elements had to be included since it had the rights to his story. Number 4. Die Hard. there was no way to expect Die Hard to be anything like the books. The whole history of the books and movies is pretty complicated, with the film being based on a book that is a sequel to a completely different book, which is based on a movie, which is based on 2 books. Confused? So are we. However, the book the Die Hard movies most represent is something called Nothing Lasts Forever. The book is a lot darker, and the characters are older with widely different perspectives. Number 3. I Am Legend. Many people probably don't realize that there was a book source for the monster movie featuring Will Smith. That's because the book I Am Legend was written in 1954 and isn't a well-known classic like some of the others. There were a few adaptations of the book, but the 2007 version is the most popular. However, it also made some pretty dramatic adaptations from the book. The first is that the main character is not a hero in the book. He is a killer and has to pay for his crimes against the vampires that live in the world. In the movie, Will Smith is a hero that works to save others and is willing to sacrifice himself to do so. If that wasn't enough, the kinds of creatures, how the apocalypse occurs and changes, and the setting are all different as well. If the movie didn't share the same name, most people probably wouldn't even realize that the movie was based on the book. Number 2. Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes was based on a book by Pierre Boulle. While they have a similar name, there isn't much more in common. The biggest and most drastic difference is the ending, which is the big plot twist of the movie. The book and the movie are based on completely different planets. The movie and the book also both feature twists and a bit of darkness, but they go their different ways and can't really be compared to each other. Number 1. Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump isn't completely different from the book. It shares a lot of the major plot points. However, the minor details are where the story changes quite a bit. However, this wasn't a bad thing, and even many fans of the book agree the version of Forrest Gump played by Tom Hanks was a lot more lovable and personable than the book version. However, the biggest difference is the ending. Thanks to the vastly different minor details, the story plays out differently between the film and the novel. The film is much more emotional and brings watchers to tears, while the ending for the book is a lot less emotional and a bit more sterile. I hope you enjoyed our top 10 movies that have very little to do with the book they're based on. Which movie came out the best after the changes? Leave your opinions in the comments below. Do not forget to subscribe to the Top 10 Jaw-Dropping Facts channel. And new episodes release every Monday through Friday.